The program you are about to see is called the Anishinaabe View, in their own words. This is a series of shows produced by the Algoma District School Board for a website being developed called Voices from the Gathering Place. This is about the earliest history of Sault Ste. Marie between 1622 and 1870. What we discovered in developing this website was that while the significant events in this period all included First Nations and Métis people from the area, and while their stories were being represented, their voice was not. And it was important to include their voice and their stories. And even more remarkable and interesting was that the stories from the oral tradition were often ones that were not in the written record. And so we're so happy to present this series of shows filmed at Eastview Public School with Anishinaabe students from grades 4 to 8 with elders, chiefs, and knowledge keepers, and hearing the Anishinaabe view in their own words.
Ani Bojo Makwode. Willard, could you tell us about the vision you had when your dad was performing a ceremony?
One of the things you have to remember when you talk to an elder and he tells you something and you don't understand what he's saying, you have to go out, you have to ask those spirits to help you to, how would you say, get a better grip on that. When I first started to do counseling, I had a line. I drew a line in life. Over here they had good, bad, male, female, rich, poor. And I had a lot of trouble with that. So my dad told me to go out and fast and ask those spirits to help you get rid of that line. Now today, I don't discriminate. I can go in any church today and I feel comfortable, and I can work with people that made a mistake in their life. There's no such thing as bad. People make poor choices, and that's the line that I had to get rid of when I went for that vision. Okay? Okay.
Can you tell us about the vision you had during your cancer operation?
When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was mad, I was angry, I cursed, I swore. I even pointed fingers, mind you, at people that I knew who didn't have cancer. He sells drugs, he beats up, he steals, he lies. And it was my wife that came and I call her my rock because she's the one that actually I think saved me. She said, "What are you doing?" She said, "What do you tell people when you get cancer, when they have cancer?" And I said, "I tell them to get control." And she told me, "You better start listening to yourself because the cancer is going to kill you." And when I went to Toronto and they told me I had to have surgery, my thyroid stopped working, and that's where I had my cancer. And it's amazing how much the thyroid controls your body. I was about 386 pounds. My weight was way over. And they told me that I couldn't have 6 hours of surgery because of my heart. So they said, "We're only going to put you out for about 2 hours. And then we'll bring you back. If we get all the cancer, it's going to be a plus. If we don't, then we'll have to think of something else." When I went in and they put me to sleep, I had an archway, cedar archway. And I went through that archway, mind you. And on the other side, there was about 400 lodges. Everybody was there, even my mom and dad. And every time I went to a lodge, they had a fire. They would greet me with their arms open. And they'd give me a hug, and they'd take me by the hand. And they'd say, put your tobacco in the fire. Everything's going to be okay. And mind you, I went to everybody's lodge. Some were singing, some were visiting, some were dancing, some were sweating, having sweat lodges. And it took me about 6 hours to go to everybody's lodge. The next day, that doctor come in, and he says, Mr. Pine, you were in surgery for 6 hours. We got all the cancer. We still don't understand how it happened, but your heart stayed level. It didn't go up, it didn't go down. So that's that vision, those helpers. Before my operation, I went and put tobacco down, and I asked for those helpers to help me.
You got you.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to read next?
What is your favorite teaching to tell?
My favorite teaching is probably within these grandfathers. I'm so proud today with my honesty, because I was told when you're honest, you don't have nothing to hide, and you're honest with yourself first. And that was something that my dad told me when I first started my journey. He said, when you write things on paper, you can write anything you want. He says, but when you speak from your heart, you'll never go wrong. And today, that's the teaching that I carry. I go into the jails. I work with inmates in the jails. And you know, I don't think I'm ever walk in there with fear, because I'm honest with those boys. Today, I control what I do in life. When I was young and I drank alcohol, I lived in fear. I was always afraid of who I was with. What did I do? Did I say anything to hurt anybody? And mind you, even when I was sober, I'd be driving and I'd see a police car, and I'd go down streets where I didn't even want to go, because I didn't have no control on my life. Today, I'm clean, 30 years sober. I control my life.
What is your favorite memory as a kid?
My favorite memory as a young boy growing up was the fact that everybody had family. You could stay outside and everybody would watch you. You could make a mistake and you didn't get punished. You were taught. I can remember our neighbor had a well, old Bert Williams, and I had a can, and I threw that can down the well, and I had a rock, and I was trying to sink it. And next thing you know, somebody was grabbing my ear. Come on, let's go. Passed me to my dad. Grab this here. He's playing in the well, Dan. He put a can down there. Oh, you're playing in the well, my boy. Come on. My dad never hit me. He never scolded me. He never put me in timeout. He took me under the pump, and he pumped that water on top of my head like that. And he said, look, this is what you ain't gonna have someday. And you know, today I see that. We got to drink water out of a bottle. So those teachings, those are the things I like. Everybody was involved.
Do you think there's hope for this generation to become elders?
I would say probably 18 years ago, if you asked me that question, I would say it's a scary, scary question to answer. But because of things like this, I see a lot of hope. I see our generation actually cleaning up the mess that people made. You guys don't realize I don't like it when people say, look at our circle. These are our leaders. These are our next generation of things that are going to help us. I don't like that. I like it. I like the fact that this generation is growing up learning what they want. You guys are sitting in a beautiful room here, not because you are made to do it, but you are here because you want to do it. And I think that's going to carry us into that next generation.
Who were your elders back then?
Our elders were very strong, but our elders also lived in two worlds, the culture and the Western world. When we went to church on Sundays, our elders' voices could be heard because they sang in the Ojibwe language. When Sundays come along, our elders gathered, and they'd all sit together, and they'd watch that TV, and you could hear them laughing, and you could hear them speak in the language, but they also spoke English in a good way. Our elders were always present, where today we're having difficulty finding our elders. Some of them still drink today, some of them still party, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, our elders have to take time to come and sit in these circles with our youth. Mm-hmm.
Ani, Merrick Dishnakaz. Hello, my name is Merrick. Can you tell us a legend you heard when you were a kid?
One of the things that come to mind was the one that my dad told me about when the creation was made. He says everybody had a job. He says, and that eagle was like almost like the foreman. And one day the Creator called him up, and he says, I don't like what's going on. He says, our water's being polluted by all the fish. Why can't you do something? He says, I tried. He says, I'm really trying hard. He says, everybody's full. Their bellies are full. I don't know what else to do with the fish. So the Creator says, well, we got the bear there. Why don't you give it to the bear? He needs all that fat because he's going to hibernate. So the eagle went and seen the bear. He says, I'll make you a deal. You clean up all that water and you can have all that fish you want. And when you hibernate, you'll have all that fat that you can sleep all winter. So the bear agreed, mind you. About 2 weeks later, that eagle went in to see the Creator again, and the Creator says, you're not doing your job. The fish, water is still full of fish. What's going on? So he went and seen the bear. And the bear says, every time I try and pick those fish up, they slide out. I can't hold them. Nobody can hold those fish. So the eagle says, if I give you a gift, would you be able to clean that up? He says, oh yeah. He gave him his claws, mind you. And now when the eagle grabs them fish, he can hang on to them. And that's the claws you see on the eagle today. That was a gift from the bear. So when you do things, they say you gain 10 times. And that's what those bears done. They done a job and they got paid for it.
Miigwech.
What kind of teachings do you think died in the assimilation?
I would say, don't look at the past and get angry. Look at the past and learn. When you look behind you, you see all them footprints. Don't follow them footprints. Make your own and follow what you want in life. Make your own teachings and make things that you can live with today. I know residential school is hard. I know it's very difficult to talk about. But you know something? Let's learn from it. And let's move on. Let's move ahead.
Miigwech.
One of the things I want to share with you, I was young at one time too. I was where you guys are. And the difference from years ago and the difference from now is you guys have more opportunity to study. And I'll give you an example. We studied in a one-room classroom, kindergarten to grade 8. And then when they shut down our schools on the reserve and they moved us to town, that was very traumatic on us because we didn't see our brother, we didn't see our sisters in the same room. And it was hard for us to accept that we couldn't have that bond no more. We had to study by ourselves. We had to do different things by ourselves. And I remember even our English was different. The teacher wrote on the board, SANDWICH. And she asked me what that was. And I told her I didn't know. She said, break it down. Sandwich. Well, of course, sand was that stuff on the beach. And the witch was that woman that flew the broom. And she said, no, 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 no. She says, you bring it every day between 2 pieces of bread. So I said to her, why didn't you say sandwich? I said, we don't eat sandwiches, we eat sandwiches. And I had to go to the principal's office. So today, you have that opportunity to study, but you also have that opportunity to learn to accept both cultures. And I think in order to survive, you're going to have to learn how to incorporate both cultures together. And you will be that much more better people. Yeah. We didn't have that. Today, they buy jeans with holes in them. We wore that and got teased when we went to school. We already had those jeans. Now they pay big bucks for them. I should have saved all my jeans and sold them.
What made you want to start counseling?
What made me want to start? I worked in Algoma Steel. And in 1985, I got laid off. And of course, my dad came and seen me. And he says, I don't want you to sit and pout. He says, I want you to do something with your life. And he told me about the crane, our clan, Chichak, Sandhill Crane. He said, the crane is the teacher outside. He said, start using your dotem to help you in life. So I went back to school at Sault College, and I took a 3-year course. And today I am so proud. I have a diploma at home that sits in my closet, unfortunately. But I graduated from Sault College. And when I went back to school, even though I might have had one 9:30 class and the day was free, I stayed all day. And I'd do my homework, and I'd do my studying, and I'd do the next chapter in our work. And mind you, when I graduated, I had a 3.55 average. 4 is perfect. And there was only 3 of us out of 36 that graduated out of that class because we chose to stay and do our work. So what you do here is only benefiting you. If you want to come into this class and act up and don't listen and disturb the rest of them, the only one you're hurting is you. Come to school, do your work, and it'll benefit in the end. I chose to be a counselor for the simple reason I seen something that probably woke me up, and it has to do with that vision. We had 12 grave sites on our reserve in the graveyard that washed into the water because of the erosion of the banks. And my dad had to pick 5 people to ask those water spirits to give us back all those remains of those bodies. And if we didn't get them back and bury them properly again, we were in for a lot of hard times, a lot of suicides, things like that. And I'll never forget that. It was in August. We had to make birch bark basket. We put food offering in there and tobacco for those water spirits. And we put our basket in the water. And I had a t-shirt on, shorts and sandals. It was in August, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I put my basket in the water, it started to snow so bad, I had to put my hand up like that because the snow was just coming. Oh, I couldn't even see nobody. And then when I looked, my basket was gone, and it was just like this. I felt it was dry. There was no snow on the ground. Everybody was talking. And I carried that for about 4 months because I was afraid if I went and told somebody, they'd think I was crazy. And finally, I got up enough nerve to tell my dad. And when I went and seen him, he looked at me, he gave me one of the nicest smiles I ever seen on a person. And all he told me was, you're going to work with those spirits. That was my calling. I stopped drinking. I started to go back to school. I started on that red road. And from then, today, I live that life, that spiritual life. And every day, when I get up in the morning, I say miigwech, I put tobacco. When I go to bed at night, I say miigwech. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's times where I forget, but I don't get hit by lightning. I don't say, oh, that's the end of it. There's never an end when you have a circle. And that's how I look at my life today. That circle. Miigwech.
Lord, has there ever been a time in your life when you felt the spirits were completely with you and nothing could harm you at all?
You know, I like I said, I think I feel like that every day. If you're going to go out there in society and you're going to have that line that divides us, then that's when you're going to have fear. Myself, when something happens, I see it on TV. I don't just watch what happens. I say my prayers for those people who are having a hard time. When there's floods, when they had the shooting out west there at the school, you know, you can't change that. You can't reverse that. What you can do is you can send those prayers out to them. And don't ever be ashamed of your prayers. Prayers work, believe me. Like I said, I was in that hospital. I had staples, 48 staples. They cut me from ear to ear. And they got all the cancer. So I believe in that prayers. And don't ever be ashamed to pray. My little friend just passed away there, Grandview, 10 years old. Yeah, that boy, you know, he was unbelievable. He had cancer, he had one leg, lost his leg to cancer. But yet, he prayed for everybody else. You know, he didn't just pray for himself. He prayed for everybody. And always remember that. I'm a strong believer, when you take, you lose 10 times. When you give, you gain 10 times. That's the way life is. I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you. One question that I was kind of worried about and nobody asked me was my age. You go ahead. I worked for the Sioux tribe across Sioux, Michigan. And I got a phone call, and I had to go down to Lansing, Michigan. There was a family down there that lost a little boy. He was 8 years old. And I thought I'd go down, have prayers with the family, and then come back. When I met the family, it was a total disaster. Some were crying, some were just sitting there like zombies, some were mad, some were angry. Apparently this little boy, when he was born, he had a handicap. He couldn't use his legs. And he had 2 crutches, and he'd walk. And he'd drag his legs behind him. And all that little boy wanted was to belong. When he went to school in the morning, he walked all by himself because of his handicap. When he ate his lunch all alone because of his handicap. Never got a chance to play sports because of his handicap. Never got a chance to do things the other kids done. They were sitting in class one day, and he had to go to the bathroom, and the teacher was writing on the board. Well, I guess with his handicap, he wasn't as strong as a natural person. So he peed himself. And all it took was one child to look under the desk and see that pee. Look at it. And everybody in the class started to laugh. They all laughed at him, and the teacher finally quietened them down. But that night when that little boy was walking home, his mind wasn't where it was supposed to be. He was hurt. And he walked right out in front of a car, and the car hit him. I went into that school, and I talked. We had a circle like this with the class. And I let the kids decide what they wanted to do. And the suggestions was, why don't we adopt the ones that have handicaps that come into the school? We'll adopt them, so that they have somebody to walk to school with, so that they have somebody to have lunch with, that they have somebody to walk home with. And then another one says, well, why don't we have fundraisers? We can have bake sales and all these different things, and we'll buy equipment for handicapped children. And that's what they did. It's been about 25 years now. I don't know how they're doing down there. But I hope that they're still doing with the handicap. And you guys can do that. Always remember, when somebody new comes into your school, don't shush them. Welcome them. Because this is your home. And when you open that door, kids are going to want to come here. Because that's that welcome that you give them. So anything that is a negative, you can turn it into a positive. All you have to do is use this. My dad used to tell me, don't ever accept you can't. You can do anything you want in life, as long as you put your tobacco down. My dad was a medicine man, well-respected elder. He was the grandson of Chief Shingwak, who they say fought in the War of 1812, and if it wasn't for him, we'd be in the United States here. So he was, well known, well respected. He snowshoed to Toronto and brought teachers back so that we could have schools in this area. Yep. Mind you, I'm not going to snowshoe.
Can you tell us more about your wife?
My wife? I've been married, going to be 47 years, March 22nd, to one woman. And like I said, when I took that line out of my life, that's when things started to, how would you say, almost make a purpose for me in my life. When I got married, my dad took me aside and he said, "Do you love that girl?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "She's going to be your mate for the rest of your life." He didn't say bride, he didn't say wife, he said mate. He said, "You're going to be dominant wolves and you're going to have cubs." And when you read about that wolf is very, very friendly, family-oriented. Wolves don't fool around. They're just the two dominant ones have the cubs. When they raise their cubs, they teach them. But they also teach them how to play. They teach them where they belong in society. When those cubs don't listen, they put them back inside the den. When they try and come out, they'll snap at them or they'll bark. They'll even sit on them just to make sure they listen. Because they want strong bloodline for the next generation. And that's the way we should look at, and that's the way we should raise our kids. This is a generation here. And if you don't get the proper teachings and the discipline, then we're not going to have a strong bloodline. My wife, to me, is very special. When I go home at night, I get home about 4:45. My wife's laying on the couch. I don't talk to her. I don't disturb her. I don't expect supper. The Young and the Restless is on. I give her that 1 hour. She gives me 23 back, mind you. My house is clean. My clothes are washed. It's just amazing. But when you give, you gain, like I say, 10 times. 47 years we've been married, me and her. And believe it or not, I'm around a lot of beautiful women. But when I get home, I got a beautiful woman waiting for me. Look at the beautiful women we got in this circle. Someday those are going to be your mates. That's why you guys got to make sure you use them good. Don't be afraid to open that door for them. Don't be afraid to give them that chair. Don't be afraid to ask them, "Are you okay?" Because you're the protectors. That's the way my job is. And everything will go good. Yeah.
Miigwech.
Could you tell us more about your kids?
My kids? I have 4 kids. I got a daughter and 3 sons. And unfortunately, I don't live my kids' life. When they were young, they were good hockey players. When they got a trophy, my chest just went like this. Because I would take all the credit. I taught them how to play hockey. I taught them how to play ball. And then unfortunately, when they got in trouble, I had to do something very special. I had to stick out my chest again, because those are my kids. I didn't support what they done. I supported what they had to do to get where they are today. And always remember that your family, when they tell you something, make sure you do it. It's not because they hate you. They want you to do things right, the proper way. Today I got 16 grandkids, 14 and 2 great. And I consider myself, how would you say, a rich man. I was just sharing there with Peter. I got a grandson that goes here, DJ. He's in grade 2. He goes with your brother there. And he come down the other night. And one of the things that I do with my grandkids is I don't favor 14. I treat them all the same. And I always make sure that they do something if they want to be rewarded. He come down to my house, he says, Papa, do you have 15 spare dollars? 15 spare dollars? What do you want $15 for? And he's only 7 years old. He says, we got a book fair at school, and I need this book, it's $15. I said, well, I want you to go out in the shed, and you count, see how many cases of water Papa has in there. Okay, Pop. He went out, he come back. He says, you got 13 cases out there. I said, okay, here's $15. So him going out counting those cases earned him that $15. And I think it's good when you do that, because you feel good, and I feel good.
Miigwech.
Ani Minokajep, Leyland Anishinaabe. Could you tell us about your siblings?
My siblings? Oh my goodness. I'm from a family of 12. I got 2 beautiful brothers, and I got 9 bosses. Those are my sisters. No, we're very close. We're a close-knit family. There's 2 of my great nieces right there. And every year, around August, we have a family reunion. And we adopt the different generations to organize our family reunion. This year, the theme is Walt Disney characters. So every family has to do something that relates to Walt Disney. Last year it was the 12 Days of Christmas, and every family had to do something related to that 12 Days of Christmas. This year we were very proud. We had something like 486 show up for the family reunion. Not too many missed. 2 years ago we took an aerial shot. They spelt, all the grandkids spelt Pine. And then we took a shot of that. We lost, unfortunately, 2 sisters in the past 3 years. And what we do now is we light those Japanese lanterns, and we send our prayers up to them, and we tell them how we're doing. So we're a close family, very close. And you know something, that relates back to when I was small. We didn't have running water. We had this area that we called the swimming pool. And mind you, on Sunday nights, it was just like clockwork. Families would go there and we'd wash up. That's where we had our bath, mind you, down by the swimming pool. The Nolans, Stan Nolan's gang, the McCoys, the Solomons, the Pines, the Joneses, it was just like a schedule there. And we'd all wash up. Yeah. So family is important. I don't like it when people argue and fight. I don't think it belongs in a family circle. Nothing should be so hard that you can't talk to your brother or your sister. Well, I think the thing that is very special to me, since I've been walking this red road, it's just amazing what comes to me. I've had, I got an eagle staff that I carry. I don't know if some of you might have seen it. I've had that for about 18 years now. And it's just amazing the journey that that stick has come on and that what it teaches today. The other day I received 4 golden eagle feathers from British Columbia. My son's friend out there, he sent me those feathers, and they're like this. They're huge, great big feathers. And they say when you get something that's not yours, it belongs to everybody. So I've actually passed 3 of those feathers on already to people that I figured deserved them. I have a pipe. I haven't smoked my pipe in 4 years because of my cancer, but hopefully someday I will start smoking it again until I do decide what year I do attend pipe ceremonies, but it's awful hard with the smoke. And that's another thing we should do with this generation. We should plant tobacco and learn how to look after the real tobacco rather than get mixed up with the tobacco that has all the nicotine and all the ones that the addiction in it. And I think this generation, that's how they're going to stop that. You got to learn how to grow the good tobacco, use it.
Do you know anything about like Madawan?
You know something? My dad was Madawan, and the thing about Madawan is it's almost the same as our teachings, but the Madawan Lodge is very, very spiritual, okay? We have our teachings here. They might have different teachings, the Cree. They might have different teachings, maybe the Algonquin, all different things like that. So what I concentrate on is Ojibwe. I can remember one time I went up to Chisasibi. That's way up the Crees on the north side of Quebec. And we went into a lodge up there. Well, up there, their lodges aren't like ours. For one thing, they don't have no hardwood. All they have is softwood. So when they light a fire, their wood is piled about 12 feet in the air, and the rocks are in between. And when that fire burns, it only takes about 20 minutes because there's all softwood. So to get a lodge ready, it takes them all day. And when they go into the lodge, like when we go in, we have our grandfathers, but we put medicine on them to purify us. Up there, they put animal fat, and you start throwing up because it makes you sick. They purify your stomach, and we purify our mind. So it's just like the Madawan Lodge. You respect that, but when you're there, okay? But our teachings are different again.
Do you think the world can be like what it was when you were young ever again? Or sometime in either our or children's or grandchildren's future?
Like I said earlier, I think myself, we have a good start of moving into that next generation for the simple reason that we have things like this. This is beautiful. I wish we had this when we were young. Everything that I learned had to do with survival and the culture, and that's how we were. Like you went took something, you put tobacco down, you gave thanks. Today's survival is a part of this. This is how your culture is going to be learned in this room, and it's going to help you to survive. I mean, I grew up, I was 21 when I found out. I always thought my name was Gegobana, because that's all my dad told me, Gegobana, Gegobana. I thought that was my spirit name. You know what Gegobana means? Don't touch that. So today, we have fun with that, and I teach that to my kids. I remember doing a ceremony at my house. There was about 60 people showed up. And my little grandson, he's 7 now, but he was 2 at the time. And I got handles on my smudge bowl. And I lit that, and I told him, go smudge everybody. And I'm standing there watching him. He's smudging everybody. He's doing a good job. Everybody's smudging in. Next thing you know, he's going around outside. Next thing you know, I don't see him. DJ! You could hear him, yeah, Pa. I said, where are you? He says, I'm over here. What are you doing over there? I said, come over here. So he come back. I said, what are you doing over there, my boy? He says, I'm smudging their cars so they'll have safe journey home. And he was only 2 years old. So what you teach as a parent, that's what your kids are going to learn. You got to remember something. When a baby is born, a baby is already a bundle carrier. Because when a baby comes into this world, that baby brings joy, it brings caring, it brings sharing, it brings laughter, it brings tears. And if your parents, the parents of that baby, if they use their roles and responsibilities, that baby's going to grow up to be a good person. But they also need to use their spiritual roles. And what are our spiritual roles? You don't hit, you don't holler, you don't scream, you don't swear. Because babies don't bring that. They got to learn it. And if that baby is brought up with good spiritual roles, he's going to carry that bundle all his life.
Miigwech.
Thanks for giving us those speeches.
Miigwech. I just want to say how honored it is for me to sit here with you and share. Because like I say, I was sitting there at one time. And today I am that elder. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to come into your circle. And I think as long as you look at this as your circle, this circle will always be here. Miigwech.
Hey,